Hey, everybody. So we got a new mic. It's funny. Someone just referred to me, and I got a new mic. So just let me know how it goes. I may have to dial it in a little bit more. So just let me know how it sounds. I can always get another one, but this one supposedly is a very good mic, so that's what I went with. Um, Probably should invest in a super good one considering how often we're doing these. So, I mean, I do want the audio quality to be the best it can, but just let me know how this one goes and if this one's okay tonight. It's a new mic. So, um, in regards to what's going on out there, let me just drop this in. Thank you. Thanks. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Hopefully, it sounds better than the other one. So, I know one I had a bad cord on, but let me just drop this in a couple spots here. Uh, and get this going, and then we'll be good to go. So right now, futures are actually up, which is great. I mean, that's really what you're looking for, right? So you're seeing some buying, and that's really important. I'd like to see the buying continue. I'd like to see it more obviously continue, and we're going to have to see how this goes. Hey, Boca. So we're going to have to just watch this, and we're just going to have to watch this play out and see how we go. Let me just send this. Let me just put this out there, and we'll go from there. But I really think that what we have to do is focus on a couple key things. Okay, we have to focus on what the market's actually going to do. So, in other words, here, let's start here. Okay, thanks, Brandon. Appreciate it. So let's just start here so we can get into this. Okay. So it may reflect this. It's not really going to. Here's the point that I was getting at. Okay. And I only use MACD. It's a lagging indicator. The only time I really use MACD is for the histogram. Okay. That's really the only time to use it. So, and Book, I'll go over Disney in a moment. It's on the list. So just you're going to have to watch this, okay, until you're back over the 21 day, okay, which is 465. So you need 4650. If you see that on the SPY 4660, get excited. Until then, all we're doing is trading up to set up to sell back down. So we're going to have to be really careful tomorrow on the rallies. I want to just point this out, like, we started a short position in this. If this market's going to correct, right? If it's going to correct and go back up, these stocks are going to get hammered. Okay. They're going to sell these VAX names, right? That's going to happen. Just be aware of that. They're going to sell mRNA. They're going to sell BNTX. They're not the saviors. They're the ones that we bought in case we needed something. So just be really careful of that in buying those. I'm on the short side of mRNA. And the other thing is we put this trade on. Hey, Justin, we put this trade on, and I just want to go through this. It's not popping up. Must have the wrong symbol in. Hold on 1 second. Let's try this. Okay. So, we put this trade on in regards to the VIX, and I just want to point this out. If we open up tomorrow, this is going to get hammered. Okay. Your sign and what you should be looking for is a higher high. If you make a higher high on this, $29, it's probably going higher. Okay. If we don't, and we just go sideways, it's very rare that you go sideways, build a flag, and then go higher. That usually doesn't happen. So it's possible that we peaked, but we're going to have to see tomorrow and see how it opens. So that's really what I want to cover before we start. Let me go into here, get off the private stuff, and go into recently viewed, and then we can start drilling into this. So I'm going to go through names that you want to go through, and I have a bunch that I think that we should be looking at. So I'll just walk through this, and there's a lot on this chart. But what I did, Boca, on Disney is I anchored a VWAP to the trough. So for me, anchored VWAPs, let me click off these indicators for a moment, okay? And then let me see if it'll just let me put this back on here. No, I need the indicators on. So let me just put it to you this way. Let me just do it this way so we can talk about this. Okay. So The only real value, the value that I shouldn't say that. Let me rephrase that. The value that I get out of anchored VWAPs is more so not on dates, meaning the beginning of the month, the end of the month, because you could, I say it all the time, you could VWAP all over yourself. You can put these anywhere. But if you look at a yearly chart, okay, and you pick the lowest low or an 18-month area, right? And you pick the lowest low and you pick the high, the highest peak, you're going to get a range and you're going to see it somewhat respect those ranges. Okay. You're right on that range. So there's a couple things that I like about this that I'm just going to walk through. Disney's now down to 20. Okay. When you start getting into 20 and the teens, yes, you can go to 8. Yes, you can go lower, but it's rare. So the fact that we're down this low, yes, it can go lower, but now we're starting to turn green, right? So we closed. Let's just walk through Disney and let's zoom in on this and really talk about this for a minute, because this is the kind of thing that if this is not bad, this is going to bounce, right? So you can see how you see your wedge right here, but look at this. So this is where you closed, okay, 154, and then hold on, let me get that exact. I apologize. 153.34, and then you're at 148. Okay, so you're seeing 2.5. It's called 3 points right there, right? What's important is that the open was 146.80, and we had buying during the day. So I'm getting to it, Boca. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. We're getting closer. Now, the other thing that I'm going to just point out, and this is somewhat advanced, but when you're in a position with these and the histogram of a MACD, a MACD is a lagging indicator, and I don't use it a lot. But when the histogram starts peaking and we're dropping and it's not going down, I pay attention. So this is setting up to bounce. Also, these can only go so wide. I'm not going to get into the specifics of it right now, but these two lines off each other, the signal line and the MACD line, can only go so far. But what I like about this is, yeah, I think you're getting there. So I think you're in a spot where it's getting very interesting. So what I would do if I was interested in this, Boca, we could look at leaps, okay, but get above that tomorrow, even off like a 1 minute chart, because you really have only had it happen once, right? And if you don't close above either the previous day's close or the low, definitely if you get below the low, 145, just blow them out. But yes, that could absolutely work now. This is definitely setting up, and it's definitely something that if we bounce, should be on your radar, especially if you want to be in long term. So, because this could be it. I mean, look, best case scenario with this, with what's going on out there right now, this turns out to be highly contagious and very mild, and we get to herd immunity. As I stated earlier, I am not a virologist. I have no idea. That's best case. If that happens, things start opening up again. Production opens up. Okay. You can see where I'm going with this. Production opens up. Travel opens up. It works for them. So I think we're there. I think we're there. But use that 148.85 level. So let's just keep going. Affirm, daily, weekly time frame, and bros. You got it, Brandon. Let's do it. So affirm. Let me throw these in. Okay. And look, I'm just going to point this out while I have it in here. Okay. See how the peak of this MACD on the histogram, I'm going to do a whole video on this, but as we know, I'm working on 4 different ones right now. But as you hit that peak right there, okay, that's usually your low. Your low's probably in here right now. Now you could reject here, right? 1, 2, 3, right down. Kicker bar in the middle. We know what this is, right? Looks like a bullish reversal, right? Bullish hook reversal. Here's your kicker. Now you got to get above this. So really what you're looking for, let's get rid of all these annotations and let's just start over. So really what you're looking for is right here. Okay. That's what you're looking at, 136, and you're above it. So if you can get above 137.5 and push, that'd be great. Now let's just look at where the 50-day is. Let's look where the 21 is. Let's look where the 8 is. Okay. So these are also going to be hindrances for what you're doing. And since you've been basing, let's just throw in volume by price. Okay. So we have volume by price and we have a lot of shelving here. So that's a concern, right? But getting through this, for me, if you could start pushing through this and you can get through the 50, you can easily test this level. And that's 10 points. So there's a 10-point gap between the two indexes, and that can happen. So that's how I would look at it on the daily. On the weekly, yeah, I saw that, Boca. I'll address that in a moment because it is important. It's definitely important, but I'll address that. So here you are on the weekly. We'll just leave this right here. Here's your point of control. There's your point of control on the weekly. What are you forming here? Okay. Bar down, hammer, dragonfly, right? That's a dragonfly pattern. What does that mean? We don't really need this here. No, we don't need this here. Let's focus on this. So what does that mean? That means that if you can break above this, you're getting to here. Okay. So getting above this level, getting above this 130, wow, 137 3/4. So call it 137 and a half gives you the potential to get to, and it doesn't happen usually in a week, but it can. This could get to 160 again. So this is definitely something to keep on your radar. That's for sure. This could work. And you're going into the holiday season right now, right? So people are probably going to utilize the product. I think Shop came out with numbers. We saw those. They were through the roof. I haven't seen a lot of Amazon numbers yet, but we'll see how that's going. Okay. So let's just keep focused. I'll get to your comment on Goldman in a minute, Boca, for sure, because it's important. Thanks, Diane. Let's do bros. So bros, what we're seeing, okay, what we're seeing with bros is you're holding this line coming across weekly. What is this setting up for? Okay. So I'm going to stress this. You start using this volume by price when you have like very little data points like that you do here, because it tells you where the players are, right? Look, support and resistance flipped here, right? And now it's still being support. This is setting up. This isn't as pretty as a firm, but this is setting up, right? Notice how these bars are getting smaller, except for this one, but now it's getting smaller. If you can get above this high, 56 and a half, let's call it 56.25. You could reverse here, right? You could reverse here. And by reversing, look at this to show you what we're seeing. Okay. You're right there. I mean, that's perfect. Break a higher high here, or even stay here and then break a higher high. That's perfect. And I have this as support, and I'm right on a shelf. Like you're literally right on the shelf. So this can hold. I like this a lot. So I like that. That's setting up nicely. Let's go to the daily. Hey, Abigail. I'll get to it in one moment. But let's go here. Yep. I mean, look at this. It's textbook, right? Get above I mean, it's the same thing I would say. Get above the red nasty bar, right? 56 and a quarter. And you can go. I wouldn't worry too much about this. I wouldn't worry too much, Brandon, about that 50-day. It just came out. So you can watch that level and see how it acts there, right, at 57. But I wouldn't worry about that because look at the supply and how the supply goes away, right? So you could flip your way right up there. I like it. I read the piece. I read the piece. Someone else sent me the piece. And I understand what they're saying about the variant. I always take with what these firms say with a grain of salt. So if they feel this way and they're putting the note out, it depends on who they're putting the note out to. So I'm usually very cautious when I see things like that. I will say this, and again, I'm not a virologist. The people that I've spoken to about this, that are doctors that are in this space, have told me that it looks like it's highly contagious and it's very mild. So that's exactly what we want to see. But we're going to have to see that. And either way, I mean, Fauci already came out and said tonight, he made an announcement they're going to be giving conferences. In 2 weeks, he's going to have more data. So they're going to be giving conferences. We're in a news-driven cycle. So we're still going to be affected by it. It's not going to just go away, right? We could rally. The markets could rally. But this is not going to go away. You're still going to have a ton of risk. So cars, very interesting. I think it has legs being added to the index. Which index is it being added to? I don't know. I'm not up on all my news. It must have got announced. Cars.com must have got announced the other day. Yeah, I mean, like, that's huge. That must have got announced on what? Friday? Yeah, I mean, that's enormous news. Probably getting added to what? The Russell or the mid cap? I mean, there's your level, Terry. Look, it's simple trade. Okay. If you see buying above 16 and a quarter, take a look at it, right? It might be worth it, right? If you can get to 16 and a quarter on that, that could go. Do you know when it's going to be added? So if you can find out when it's going to be added, that would be interesting. So, but that can definitely go. Hey, Abigail. All right. So I'm a few minutes behind on the charts. Are leaps just regular longer-term calls? Do you buy them the same option process? Anything specific to look for? So when you're buying a leap, you just have to have a very, like, to answer these questions one by one. I tend to buy them, if I'm going to buy them at all, going out at least 2 years is how I do it. Or to me, I'd rather just buy stock. So I go out far enough that I have enough time that it could really kick in. That's usually how I do it. So for now, I would probably go out to going into 22. I'll probably look at the 24s. So that's how I would look at that for Disney, like the Disney trade we were just talking about. So, and I could pull up an exact one and get it, which leap I would buy. I have to go through it, but I would want to be buying something that is very out of the money and that is just time, and that I could make money off the implied volatility as well as it moving. So, I'd be looking for something like the 175s, something like that. I can just tell by looking at it, but I'd want to see, the open interest, the delta. There's a lot of things to check, but that I like, and that's how I would do it. I would want to be way out of the money, and I would want to at least, go out to 24 is how I would look at it. That's where you're really going to lever and make that money. For people, we did one on Ford. People did fairly well with it. Happy Sunday. I hope that answers your question, Abigail. If it doesn't, throw out the question again and what I didn't answer, and I'm more than happy to go back through it. Happy Sunday. How do you feel about ASO, MTTR, or ISP? Yeah, I know ASO. I mean, look, ASO had a huge short position in it, right? And hold on, I don't know what happened here. ASO, there we are. Okay. So ASO had a huge short position. Let's click off this for now. And let's leave this up. And right now you've pulled back. I actually was looking for it to flip. It formed a perfect, well, almost perfect, right? It formed a perfect morning star with this shooting star, right? And it's just inversed. But what you're doing is I was waiting for it to break here. This was actually in the top 10. It never, ever got there, man. It just didn't get there. And now I have these wicks. So I'm a little apprehensive to go near it now. For me, that was my trade. That was the one that was worth trying, and it just didn't work for me. MTTR is on the radar, and there's a ton of people that are looking at this one. It's very clean, man. I mean, like, this is a really simple trade. Look, this is, you could do this a couple different ways, right? Let me just walk you through it. You can say, this is your flag, okay? You can see the pattern right here, right? And what do we do with these? We always clone them because we want the same trajectory, right? And just see if they fit in there, and it fits kind of nicely right there, doesn't it? So now we see where our flag is, right? So a break of this flag out, right? You could be using that, which would just happen to also be what? 28. The other way that you could look at MTTR, if you really wanted to, is a cup. and then it broke out, and then it came back and formed a handle, which actually is a little cleaner because it's more of a wedge than an actual flag, right? So looking at this, yeah, I think this has massive potential. And there's a lot of people that are paying attention to this one and don't have positions, and they're all waiting. So, I get why you're waiting. You're waiting for the break to make money. And that's how I trade too. I want the action. But this would definitely be on my list. And I just want to hammer this point home again. $28 swing. Like, look at this, right? 1, 2. It's only closed above it 3 times. That's it. So keep that in mind. But I do like that. And what was the other one? ISPC. This is not something I would go near. If I was in this, I would be getting out as fast as I could. Yeah, I mean, you're just all over the place. I don't know what the news is, how it's trading, why it is. If I broke 1642, I'd be gone. I would not be hanging out. So, that's not something I would play with. I don't know if it's news driven or speculation it's getting bought. I don't know. So let's just go NVDA. So I think NVIDIA is hanging in there, and I think it's going fairly well. To me, it's pretty much exactly what I'm looking for out of it, right? I mean, here's 13.1365. We held it, or I'm sorry, 3.1365, and we held it, right? That's exactly what we want to see. Now, we didn't take out a lower low. Now, if it just, and I can't stress this enough, if you want to just kind of go through the markets and see what's going on, market took out a lower low, NVIDIA didn't. So we're seeing that, okay? And if you go and get even more specific to the sector took out a lower low, but hit the 21-day, okay? So where does that put us? Well, that puts us in a little bit of a precarious position, but here's where you're at with it, and here's what my thoughts are. I think right now you're going to have to wait and see how this plays out tomorrow. If you break this and close below this, it's going to be an issue, okay? My hope is that this 21-day starts moving up while it's basing here to start pushing it, right? Because we've been in this for a while now, and I want to stay in it, but this could shake us out. So I'm looking for more support to lock in more of it. I'm not really going to use the 8-day right now because sometimes it breaks the 8 only to go higher. If it breaks below the 21, which it really hasn't done since this move, that's going to be a concern to me. But overall, I really like it. And I'm hoping that this does not happen. So AMBA, absolutely. Let's go. I don't know how their earnings are going to be. I have no idea. What would concern me about this, okay, is one, I have this wedge and how I'm respecting it. Two, nobody seems to care to play it for earnings, right? Here's your bar. Let's just get rid of all this for a moment. Okay. Here's your bar. And let me pull this over so we can talk about this. All right. Then your base break. So the worst kind of flags, this is a bear flag. The worst kind of flags are the ones that don't take very long sometimes. Okay. So people can say, oh, like the ones that base for a long period of time and then they break down, people like those more. If you look at the percentage of those moves, they're not as great as when you have 2 or 3 days and then you break. It just means there's more behind it. And there's more behind this. You can see that. That low is where somebody was saying, I will buy everything that you have, right? That's what that point is right there, right? That's what they're saying. That's why it stopped dead there. And that was the low because somebody said, I'll take it all. Then it held here again. And then it flipped on Friday where they said, we are full. Okay. That's what happened there. That's the entire process. You're sitting right on the 50-day. So I would watch that. The other thing that I would say about this is this is your rally. This is your break, right? And then just go right here and look at this. Let's pull this out. Down, and let me just throw this out of the way. Okay. So this was your breakdown bar for right here, frozen rope pattern breaks. And you should be able to see this, but it'll take me a moment just to put that in place for everybody so that you can see what I'm talking about, right? And then the frozen rope bonk. And now you couldn't get above that. They got you over it to make you think it was really going to go, and then it doesn't. They gap it down, and you can't hold that level. You can't hold this new level. That means they're selling. Okay, there's definitely selling, and this is broken. So I would be cautious here. You could look at where's the 200 on it, and then go from there. So, yep, based upon where that 200 is, I mean, you've got some issues here. So watch this level closely because you're right there. Here, off that break and that break. If you break that, you're probably going to have issues. It's probably going lower. Yep, I appreciate that, Swing. Thank you. Okay, do you know what index it is being added to? S&P, mid cap or IWM? Let's take a look, Hogue. GOVX. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how they play into the whole situation. Are they a testing site? Is that what I'm looking at? I mean, in regards to the indexes, I'd pay attention to the fact that this did not close above the 200. It's tried to break out a couple more times. Something like this, what would be really almost better than this is just to look at the volume by price. Okay, and to I mean, you can see it, right? So essentially you went right up to point of control and right up to VWAP and didn't break. And you're in the middle of where everybody owns this thing. I mean, what you could do if you were interested is wait for you to clear that 491, Hogue, and then see how you act around 540, 550. It's 10%. So I usually don't play the little guys, but if you can get over this, like this 550, let's call it this wick. Let's call this wick. Right? We're just going to call that wick. If I can get through there, you see how the supply goes away? That gets interesting to me. That's where I would be looking. But if you're trying to get in ahead of time, that's your first level, and then watch this. DWAC. DWAC. Okay. So, look. I mean, it is what it is. Here's the day. It ran up. We come in the next day, right? Everybody's all giddy because you made all this money. Then you come in, it's at 175, and you can't believe you sold it at 40. I mean, it just happens, right? I mean, you kind of have to laugh about it. But obviously, they're not going to reinvent the internet. We're not going to get into it for politics purposes. But it is what it is. And, I don't know where this is going. Could more news hit that drives it? Yeah. What would concern me is what I'm showing you right now. Okay. So you don't have any real data points. You're using moving averages, and those moving averages are not going to be great. Right. And why aren't they going to be great? Because you really don't have a lot of data, but we can put them in. Right. So I'm not really crazy about throwing in these, but we're just going to throw them in real quick. And the reason that I don't even like using them for a moment, just so you understand, is also I'm flatlining. So they're not really telling me anything. Okay, but you can see where you're at. So we're just going to click off of these again, and we're going to just look at this. So really what you're going to have to go on is you're going to have to look at something like this, and you're going to have to look at RSI, right? And you're trying to get above that 50, and you're already pointing down. Point of control would be what I would use. If I can't close above point of control, which is the purple line right here, I wouldn't go near this, Indy. So that's what I'd be looking for. Realistically, this comes back down. That's what I think happens. I mean, this is a great one to anchor a VWAP to. So, oops, wrong one. So just to kind of see where the players are. Yeah. And I don't think that you have, let's just see what this does here. Yeah. So, I mean, this is not something that you can see when you broke it here. They call this the pinch when you take the trough and the peak. So, and you can see once you broke here, that was it. But that's right on regular VWAP anyway. So it is what it is. Not something I'd go near. LYV, yeah, I mean, LYV. So look, if this turns out to not be as big of a deal as people think it is, right? And I'm looking at futures while we're talking. And they're still holding and they're moving higher, which is a good sign for tomorrow, right? So if that's the case, and that's how we open, then stocks like this, they can go higher. Okay. Something like this, when it broke down 98 to 103, I mean, that's a perfect trade. Like if you look at this, let's just look at it on the hourly. Okay. So here's your range. And this is where you were at all day. I mean, that's just perfect, right? All you're doing is consolidating and forming a wedge. Eventually, you're going to break out of this wedge. So what I would go and say maybe you could find another pattern on a smaller time frame. And again, you really can't. Here's an evening star. So even if you're not buying this, right? I don't know who's buying the bear flag break, but when you come here, now you have this evening star. So this is not something I would go near when you start really drilling down into it, right? Remember that these multiple time frames, these are candlesticks within candlesticks. It's one way to think about it. So looking at the internals of this, right? Like this is telling you the internals of the daily, right? These 4 bars make up the hourly. You see where I'm going with this. So what sometimes you can look and find something else, but if I can gap over this, like let's say it gets, there is no Omicron, right? Whatever, 105. Okay. Then I could get back up to here easy. 111. That could happen. Okay. If you get in that area, that could happen. Okay. And that's definitely something to consider. Yeah. To me, the infrastructure play is dead. The only part of the infrastructure play that's not dead, because they're not going to, the way that they're going to try to implement this and what's going to happen once in a year when you have this whole change in the House, if you have a change in the House, I don't think that these companies are going to be around and moving the same way. I just don't see it. So this is looking pretty tired to talk about them. We can go through them one by one, but this is looking fairly tired to me. And you keep trying and you keep bonking your head. You're unable to get out of your own way. So that would concern me and keep me out of it. The 8's going to be pointing down. The 21's pointing down. This is not what you want to see. So especially when you have no supply up here, you want to see it turn and run. So it's not something that I would be crazy to be in. The ones that made sense to me that I think are going to be around that really are going to benefit are steel. I think steel is going to benefit greatly from this because if you really go through the infrastructure bill, it's needed in almost every single part of that infrastructure bill in one form or another, right? Either for infrastructure, fiber cables. I mean, you have so many parts that are needed for steel. So I think it's something to really consider. Okay. They're the plays that I think make sense. If you're trying to play that bill, X. Okay. They're all trading kind of similar. I like NUE the most, least levered. Okay. X is the most levered. This has the highest growth. So it depends on how you want to play them, but they're the ones that I would look at. LEV. Yeah. I mean, I would not go near that. This looks good. I'm not sure what part of it they're in. This looks good. If you can get above Inquisitive, if you can get above this 1246, 1264, I don't know why they dyslexic today. If you can get above that level, that's exactly what you're looking for. Look at the volume, right? If you go here and let's just pull up relative strength very quickly. Relative volume, actually. Yep. See like these spikes? See how they're staying? It's exactly what you want to see. This looks great. I don't usually like the little ones, but this could work. Let's get rid of this, and let's clean let's get rid of the indicators. And let's just take a look at why I have these levels. Yep. So you'd be going to the top of the breakdown, which is right here, 1449. You can see how it was resistance here. Resistance flips to support, becomes support, support. This line's in effect. Get through 1449, you can get to 1668. So out of the 3 you gave me, that's the one you should be focused on. So, you're welcome, Abigail, anytime. AMEH. Wow, I'm that far behind again. AMEH. Yep. I mean, this is not something that you can go near. pretty clean double top, breaks over it, rejects it. And I mean, here's the bar. Like the day that this happened and you close below it, that's it, right? You have to stay away until you get above the next bar. Other than that, you're just playing around, right? And like here was your signal too. So you break down, and then you have this doji right here. Well, dojis like this with a little bit of leg to it give you an uncertainty pattern, right? You don't want uncertainty. So you wait for the uncertainty settles out. The uncertainty settled out, broke here. That's it. Toast. So that's the end of it. I wouldn't go near this. And then you have another wick here, right, that's giving you some signs. So what you could do is say, is that something that maybe we stop at? It's possible, but I'd want to be above this, which was 98.50 before I do anything. Let's just keep going. So Sava, yeah, I mean, this is going to be a really tough one. This is really news driven, and whether or not this news is going to work, the drug's going to work. I mean, you should be able to see these downward trend lines and how they're respecting it. I'll just throw it right here. Okay. But this is not something that I would be rushing into. You know, at any moment, news could come out that just gaps you down or gaps you up. You know, that's not really what I do. So it's a binary event. I mean, if you wanted to be in this, what you would do is put on, you know, you could put on a long straddle, right? I mean, you could buy calls and buy puts going out, and then you're just playing the volatility. But I have no idea what it's going to do. Technically, you're just holding right at long point of control, if you look at that, and below the volume by price VWAP. But I really don't have an opinion on if it's going to go back to here or if it's going to come down here. I just don't know. You know, I would tell you that if you break this trend line, you're going to have an issue. That would be an issue to watch. One of their significant pullbacks seeing out there at the long-term accounts. Yeah, we're getting there with some things. I think the news and the way the news is coming through right now, we're starting to see some action in the market, and I think that's good. We're holding levels, so hopefully we're going to hold those levels and push, you know, higher. Just looking at it, Nasdaq's up 1%, 95 basis points, 73 basis points on the ES. So I mean, these are all great levels. So if that happens, I mean, the one that I've been just waiting because I think it can trade back up to here, right, and that gets us close to 30 points, right? I mean, that's 20%. I'll take that. I like Disney here. I think Disney you could be looking at here. Yeah. If you're looking at a long-term account, I like that here. I just need to see it get over this little hump because then my stop is just the low of this bar. It's 145 3/4. It's $3 trade. I mean, it's nothing. So yes, I'm looking at stuff like that. I'd be looking at stuff that gets beaten down if this is to turn. But I would be looking at growth companies, and that's something that I would look at if we get beaten down for long-term accounts. Tech's still pretty high. Okay, small cap. Thanks, Veron. Mid cap, got it. Yeah, I did. Yep, I'll do that, and I'll throw it in the room as far as leaps. Let me just write a note so I remember. I'll do it tonight, later. But yeah, I have to go through them all and look at the leaps and tell you which ones I would do. Just give you my opinion and go from there. But you're looking, if you get over 149, it'd be a long-term play. I'll put it in option alerts so everyone can see it because people are looking at it there more, I think. But I think it can go, and I think you could do really well with it. I mean, everything's going wrong for it, and it opened and closed above that area. So I think that's great. Could it be a short? Yes. If this keeps going, right? If this keeps going down, yeah, that could be a short. Look, these are the simplest kinds of trades, okay? Because essentially what you're looking for is just a pattern, and the pattern hasn't developed yet. You have one bar, and now you need a pattern. So if I break this 98.50, yeah, you could head down to 90. So you're waiting for this doji to make a decision. Right now, that doji is leaning towards it's going to gap fill. Doesn't mean that it's going to do that. But would I short it just in the middle here? No, because any piece of good news could come out. Just like any other news could come out that Omicron's not the problem, but Zeta's the problem, right? You see where I'm going with this? We're in the news cycle again. Until we get out of that, we're going to have issues. When would you short? Yeah, that's a better question. Much better question. When would you short? Here, this is where I would short it. Okay. Give you two areas that I would short it. First thing I would do, the highest probability short is going to be breaking 98.50. The second place to short it is the day that you close below the 50-day, okay, and you use 105.05 as your stop. They're the two ways to short that. Hey, Laura. CVAV. I'll have that, Laura. CVAV. Nope, don't have that one. Yeah, it's a binary event, right? I mean, that's really what you're doing. You're betting on a binary event, and you can do very well with that, but I don't have any insight into that. So meme stocks, AMC, GME. Yep, you got it. So here you are with AMC. Hold on one second. Let's just get rid of all this for a moment. Okay. And let's just talk. And let's just look at this. So here you are, right? It's pretty clean. This was your break. You got above there and closed perfectly. I mean, it's almost like they know what they're doing, right? Get you above the wick, get you above this wick, close it here, and then they gap you down and they trapped everybody. I mean, they did a great job. Then you couldn't get over, and now you're just bouncing around. You're really in no man's land, okay? And because you're basing and all you're doing is really working off the premium of those options as this flat lines, that's all they're doing to people, right? They're just basically just getting those options to go to zero. What you're going to see here is that when you look at these indicators, they're pointless because you're in trendless. So really what you want to do is just watch this 35.59. Usually when you break it, that's where you've been buying this. Okay, that's like you're buying it when it's ugly now because you're in trendless market. And when you're selling above 40, you're selling above 45. I mean, that's really how you're trading it, right? That's it. I mean, that's how I would look at it. GME, I took a position in for the first time in like 6 months and couldn't get out fast enough. I mean, I'll show you what I did. And I put an option on it and everything. And the option was up for 10 minutes. I mean, you had to move fast, but so, I mean, this was very appealing, okay, because this is your move, right? But we always talk about the first 15 minutes, right? And then it broke. And then after it broke here, that was it, okay? After it broke there, that was it. And then straight down. I'd be very cautious of this one now. It shouldn't have done that. It should have gone the other way, and it didn't. Matter of fact, what it did was just set people up and lure them in and just knock them down. So that's not great. And hold on one second. I'll just point this out. You have a trend line right here, and you have another one right here that you broke. You have a smaller one right here. And that's broken. And just FYI, when you break these, okay, you're breaking these, and your target is where the rising wedge starts. So you're right around here somewhere. Let's call it here, 170. So I'd be careful. Thanks, Terry. Fuel cell. Let's do it. So there's your level, right? I mean, the problem is that the meme people got a hold of this one and wanted to run it up. So now you have a bunch of people in it that really don't want to be in it. That's kind of your issue here. I mean, again, right? Just to kind of walk through it, it's really this simple when you get used to it. There's your line, broke it, tried to close over it, couldn't, breaks down again, boom, that's it. So this is not something that I would be going near. Okay, this is something that I would stay away from. All right. That's the best way that I can explain it. So it's not something that I would go near. I just don't see it. Especially if you can hold 893, stay in it. If not, you have to go. where, other than that, I just don't see it, right? It's breaking every moving average. You have all this minutia in here. It's not something I'd go near. It's a mess. So, and you never know why these people are selling their stock. Maybe it's time for him to go. Maybe they're going to push him out. I mean, it's all based upon what, it's all based upon what Gates wants. I mean, it's Gates and Paul Allen that are still calling the shots, even though they're not there. Right? I mean, they're the ones with the massive positions and the voting rights. So, anyone's going to listen to them. So maybe he's out for some reason. I don't know. I do know that this is why we had, we made $25 a share on it. I do know this is why we have stops. Look, this looked great. It looked like it was going to keep going. And then we just had that reversal day. And we talked about this. And that's exactly what happened. Sold down, and now we've broken. The fact that you closed below the 21-day was enough for me to go, period. Could it reverse tomorrow if this market stays up? Check futures real quick, tell you where we are. Yeah, I mean, you're at 1% on the NASDAQ, and you're up 80 basis points on the Qs. And the Nikkei is up 1.7%. So, I mean, that can happen. You could reverse tomorrow. That's not going to be my kind of trade. This is not something that I'd want to buy now. A couple of reasons. Just, okay, one, I've got this bar. I've got to get above that before I can even consider going to this. I at least have to get up over this wick. That's 10 points. So I don't really have a trade in here for me. And then I'm facing this wick. So I need this to settle up. I just don't see it right now. I see something that broke a trend. So as long as I see something that broke a trend, right, you can see it from here probably, right? You can see that trend line. So once you broke that trend line, that was it, right? And then we gave it a little more time to see if it could hold and then base. That was the goal. Let it base and see if it can build and go up. And we just reversed. It didn't happen. So we had to go. So that's the way to look at it. Are you going to be wrong holding it for long term? No. Can it go to, 312? Yes. If you want to hold it long term, hold it. HCVAC. Okay. Let's try it, Laura. CVAC. You got it. I don't know what this is. This kind of binary event would scare me. And then the fact that you can't stay above that break or this break would scare me. So I don't know why it's moving, but I can just give you some key levels. Okay. This bar. Okay. See these levels? So right here, this becomes support, right? Breaks, resistance, support, breaks, resistance, down, resistance, bonk, bonk, right? See where it just closed? So this is not something I would go near. At a minimum, if there's something that you see about this that seems possibly redeeming, and I don't know what that could be, but if there's a way you're trying to play this for like some kind of binary event or something, I mean, you kind of really got to get above this. You got to get above that level, 47.12, before you can even think about it. So, oh, I missed one. D-Dog. Yeah, I mean, the issue is that software is just not looking as good as you're seeing some of the other sectors that are in tech. But, you're having trouble with that 21 day, and you tried 3 times. So you have to wait for that to get above there, and then we have to wait for it to get above this wick. If you can get above this wick, right, you'll have cleared this hurdle. And this is good action, really, for this breakdown. But if you can get over this wick, you could probably get to here, 193. And that's what you're looking for. All right? That's how I would play it. When are earnings? I want to say that they're already behind us. So, you're welcome, Kev, anytime. Hey, Doug. Well, mRNA trying to go sideways, pushing vaccination, new syndication, FOMO's everywhere. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's not much more he can push, right? So mandate, mandate, mandate. The mandates got thrown out essentially. I don't know how he's going to handle that issue, and it doesn't really matter to me from the appellate court standpoint. But he's got a problem there. So the mandate was probably the worst thing that he could have done, in my opinion. He should have used education, and then who got it, and those who didn't. And you know how people are. Someone tells you to do something. Your wife tells you to take the garbage out. You're not going to take the garbage out. I mean, it's just human nature. So, and I hate to equate it to that, but I mean, it's just the way that we are as people. And I think as, you know, especially this country, but to me, there were a couple things that got me here, right? So you can see where you are in the 50-day and that you barely closed above it. Let's get rid of all this. So all I see is a stock that jumped right into the gap filled, and right, we gap filled like almost to the what? The number, okay, the high was 350. What was the high of this? 350. So, I mean, you literally gap filled within 10 cents of where you're supposed to be and then reversed. Okay. So I don't know what the Biden administration's doing. I don't know what anyone's going to do. I said this earlier to people today, Doug, and I'm not saying that you're suggesting that I am, but I'm not a virologist. I'm not a doctor. I don't want to extrapolate on the viruses and the efficacies. I just want to read price. And if I'm looking at this, and let me refresh this too. If I want to, I have a short position in this. Let me just get that out there. So I'm biased. Just understand that as I explain my position. So if I break this low, there's nothing here. There's nothing to drop this. I could go back to 275. Omicron's not a big deal. The stock went up 70. How much did it go up on the news? Right? I mean, from here, right? This is where we went. And then you go to here. Okay, we went up 21%, closed up 21% on the news, right? If Omicron's not a big deal and the NASDAQ and the Q spike tomorrow, these should get hammered, right? I mean, that's what should happen. If people want to buy that, that's up to them. I could be wrong and people just go, no, it's because these vaccines are really going to work on this strain and they buy it. But, you know, if you get over this 350, yeah, you're going to go. But other than that, I'm staying short. If I got over 350, I'd close the short position. I have to. But that's how I look at it. Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to see, Laura. I mean, I don't play speculation like that. That's not really what I do. You know, you're playing news cycles and you live by the sword, die by the sword. The day the news comes out and it's great, your stocks go down. The day news comes out and the news is bad, your stocks can go up. That's you can make money doing that. It's just not how I trade. FUD. I don't have FUD. I don't have that one. Hey, Veronique. All right. JP Morgan. So I kind of like this. If the market's going to move and things are going to get better, this is a really interesting buy for 6 or 7 points at 162.65. I mean, this is when you want to buy these when they're down like this, right? Because they're value stocks, and you went right down to this pivot point, and you held and you bounced. So get over that, and you can gap fill at least 5-6 points, and then what you do with it's up to you. But if this is not going to be as bad as we think it is, then these stocks should go higher. So, I mean, that's the way to look at it. But yeah, I like this. I like that trade there. I wonder how bad it looks on the weekly. Yeah, I mean, that's not awful on the weekly at all. It really isn't. So let's just throw in the indicators. Yep. You see how you're holding like the 21 week here? Let's look at this on the daily with the indicators. I mean, I just don't. Yeah, I'm in what do you call it mode? I'm in stock mode. Acronyms become symbols to me when I'm in this mode. Sorry, but I get real myopic. But it's funny. 162.65. Yeah, I mean, you should be able to bounce to the 50-day. You should be able to do that if you can get through that level. So I'd watch that, and that would be my signal. I hope that's helpful. So Cisco LCID, sure. So Cisco's respecting that 50-day. I wouldn't go near it. You're kind of trapped. We can get rid of this. It's not very helpful. So that you're trapped by that 50-day. You have data coming out anytime soon. Now, this came down, crashed on earnings. Not something I'd go near. I would hold off. I love the company. I mean, look, I've been screwing around with this company since back here. So, I mean, it's a great company, but look, you tried to break, and I should point this out. Like when you do this, right? Like here's your level. First time you break, you don't go, right? First mouse gets what? The trap. Second one gets the cheese. You want to see this chart and what this chart's going to look like in like 6 months. Okay. Tries to break out, can't do it, bonk, 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 finally goes. Okay, that's what you're going to see eventually with Cisco. It's just a question of when and if you have the time to wait, right? If you're looking long term, it's not the worst spot to buy it. But if you're looking short term, Dan, this is not it. But long term, in a month or two, I think it's going to look great. I was surprised by the strength in this on Friday. I kept waiting for it to fail, so I didn't go near it. But I was really surprised by that. Let me just pull these levers down. We all know that we're above the 21, 50, and 200. We all see the volume. So I'm just going to clean this up a little bit so we can just focus. We'll leave the 8 up. Okay. So what you're doing is you're just trending and you're testing these levels, right? Support, resistance, break support, resistance, right? You're right here, and you can see your issues. So for me, the move here and where you could reverse and where it could test this 5608 level again, and that's really got to be your first point, right? That's got to be the first thing that you're looking at, Dan. Where am I going to run in the resistance? This is your first resistance. It's rejected twice up there, giving us a pair of double horns, as I refer to them. So what we want to see is we want to flip this level because you have not had a higher high since you broke down here. So if I can flip over this level and I can go to, let's call it 52.50 or 52, you can do 52.40, right? This could go. Okay, this could absolutely go and retest this level. It's very possible. Now, then you're heading up to 62.87. This could get going, but you have resistance points up here. Okay, I do like this name. Pardon me. It is respecting this line. So, oh, that's great. Yeah. Yeah, on options every dip. Yeah, I think that's smart. I mean, that's a perfect look. It's a perfect spot to buy it. I mean, if it flips that level, you could even have done it if you were looking the other day on Friday, if you're looking at an intraday chart. But if you break out there tomorrow, absolutely. Absolutely. You could buy calls on it. So buy 165. So, I mean, you should be set. I mean, I have to look at the strikes and everything, but that's what this comes to mind. BJDX. Okay. Hey, Xavier. BJDX. You got it. So Blue Jay Diagnostics. So this must have been a new issue. Let's just go through this. First off, it broke, right? So the minute that this broke, okay, it was a short right there. All right. Comes down. This is what we do. Look, very, very simple. Okay, with something like this, and this is your reversal, this is where you're at. Look, you're trying, but this is your level right here. Okay, if you get above that, you could give it a shot, and then whatever bar that is, that would be your kicker, right? And that would be the one that you would use to either, that's the one I would use to determine that I'm wrong and to get out. You could also use the low of this if you want to give it more room. Okay. And maybe you can head back up to this level, but this is your next real level. I mean, you have some minor support resistances here, but this is the real test on that one. It looks completely broken NRXP. So, yeah, I mean, you got into the gap and what happened? Like here, we can get rid of the indicator. I mean, this is so textbook. Right? You see that line right there? All right. All right, let's go here. Let's remove the sequence and let's just do it this way. So you can see what I'm talking about. So there's your level. I mean, you can see it. You got right to it, filled the gap and rejected. So until you close above this, I'd be very apprehensive of that. It's just gap filled. That's all you did there. So I'm getting ready. I'm going to have to wrap this up. Let me finish what's in the queue. And if anybody wants me to do anything really quickly, just throw it out there and we'll knock this out. Try to keep this to an hour so people can enjoy their evenings. So, yeah, I can't go near this with these red bars. What you do have going for you on this INDU, DJ, see this reversal? Like, look, this is like, if you want me to give you a positive, this is somewhat positive. This bar completely encapsulates this doji, which gives us a bullish engulfing, right? So if I can get above this level, I possibly can retest this up to here to 15, we'll call it. And let's see if there is any issues along the way. Yep, and you got an issue right here. So you're going to have an issue. You're going to have a couple issues here. You're going to have to watch. I think there's better ideas, but this might be a bottom. It may be respecting this level. RUT. R-U-T. RUT. I don't have RUT. So unless you're talking about the Russell, you're talking about the Russell. If you're talking about the Russell, let me know. So okay, that could work. I mean, that could see action. That could be why it moved the other day. Just watch that level. Oh, you're welcome, Xavier. Ruts, you're going to have to let me know. If you're looking at the IWM, is that what you're looking at? Yeah, okay, got you. So everybody has a different symbol for it. Look, here's where you're at, and let me just show you this. Okay, and I went over this a little bit today, but I'll go into detail with it here. So every single time you've broken the 200-day, that's where you've been. That's when you should be a buyer. Every single time. Here you are again, right? So this is where you'd want to be a buyer, right? Buy it, sock it away. I mean, there's so many different signals that I could give you here on why this is probably a buy, but I want to see day 2 and day 3. But if I hold here and this news is nothing, you just got the IWM on sale, like big time sale, right? I mean, here's your close. So, I mean, 9%, you were down probably 10%. So, I mean, this fully corrected. No matter how you count, no matter what you think of the indexes and what happened, 10% is a correction. This corrected. So that could bounce here. I would watch this. You know, it needs to set up a little bit, but this could work. If this gets worse, no. But I think the Qs are the strongest. I can tell you in a moment. Let's just look at it this way really quickly. I mean, look, that's not very pretty. Okay, we're breaking this lower low. All right, so that's not pretty at all. We're breaking the lower low when we broke the 21-day, right? Here, we did not break the lower low, but we did break the 21-day, but we didn't take out this low. So when you start looking at things like that, yeah, I like the Qs more. What's up more right now? Hold on one second. I'll tell you in a moment. Let me pull up this other screen. So right now, NQ's up 1% and ES is up 78 basis points. So we'll see what happens. The Nikkei's up 2%. So you could have a good day tomorrow, and we'll have to see how it plays out. So let's just keep going, finish up what's in the queue. And take a look here. There we are. Okay. So, yeah, I think AMD, hey, Spencer, I'll do that. I'll do that. Yeah, I think the Qs look the best, in my opinion. And I think that you might be in a position to start looking at the Russell. You're just going to have to see if it sets up. Maybe you can get an inside day and then pop above that inside day on Tuesday. And that's a great spot to put TNA on, which is the 3X ETF, right? I don't know if you know that or not. I'll just throw that out there real quick. But this is the 3X ETF. And yeah, if I could form one day of doji and then break above that, I may give this a shot because the return's so great, right? If you could get in here and stay in and get 30 points, like you could make decent money, decent return on this if you're willing to just sit with it, buy it, and sit with it, and don't let it break. You could do well. So something to think about. That's true. I don't have anyone yelling at me anymore. No one's yelling at me anymore. Take the garbage out. Maybe I should have taken the garbage out. AMD did well. I like AMD here. I put it in the top 10. I think it held very well. Very, very well. Didn't even break the 8-day. I mean, these are the ones you want to look at. Stocks that did not break the 8-day, right? Really didn't break the 8-day. I mean, it tells you where the strength is, right? My problem with this was, this just kind of broke. We rejected that upper channel, but we're still kind of on the 8-day. I mean, we broke it, but it's not foregone. So let's see what happens tomorrow, and we'll go from there. But you're welcome, Doug. Anytime, buddy. But AMD I like a lot. I think that you have a really strong relative strength there, and I think it can go. I mean, here, look at this weekly. Like, there's nothing wrong here. Nothing. Right? You still look at where your close is on the week. You're still right here. So nothing's broken here at all. With corresponding, yes, they are obligated. That's why you saw the frenzy. That's why you saw the frenzy in it. And if it gets above that level, just print it. I mean, I did that. We did that trade. I don't know if you were in the room at the time. We did this trade with Crowd. We made money on it because of that. They have to buy it. You just print it. Simple. Yep, you're welcome, Spencer. And just keep a tight leash on it. SOXL. Yeah, I tried this trade, and it didn't work. So I'm out. I think I'll regret it tomorrow, the way the market looks right now, but we have to see how we open. I have enough on that's long, frankly, but that's why I bought the VIX at the end of the day on Friday. But what do I think here? I kind of like that it helped. I kind of like that we tested this level and we held. So I really think you got to watch it. I don't see that as a pattern that I want to buy right now, right? I've got my rejection. I'm coming down, right? We broke the wedge line. That usually leads to testing here. This can get worse, right? Right now you don't have a lot of people trading. You have some people trading and the markets are up. But this could reverse overnight. I mean, look, you have to remember something, and I'm just going to leave people with this. And, I'm not trying to be like Debbie Downer, but just remember this. And I don't know if you were trading a year and a half ago or not. You see futures up 2-3% at night. You'd come in, you'd be down the limit because, somebody got sick or something happened. I mean, it was a scary time, right? So just keep that in mind. So you don't know what's going to happen. So I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to wrap this up, and Xavier, I'll cover that in a moment. I'm going to wrap this up. You're going to have to understand that you have a lot of gap risk by holding stocks overnight, at least for the next week, at a minimum for the next week. So, okay, something to keep in mind. This is SNII is not something I would go near. So I wouldn't go near that. And let's just do ALZN for Xavier. Apparently they have a Alzheimer's drug submission to the FDA. Maybe it goes, maybe it doesn't. I have no idea. It's a binary event, man. It's either going to work for you or it's now. It's not going to work. So, yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying, Spencer, but I buy based upon technicals. So, that's how I trade. So this is not something, I mean, the fact that you're holding the bottom's good, but it's not something that I would go, that way, but we'll see. That's funny. I doubt it, Swing, but thank you. All right, I'm out. Everybody, trade sharp. We'll do this pre-market 8:30 tomorrow morning. Have a good night, everyone.